What is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced? A guy I met in my early 20s was the richest person I've ever known. His dad was CFO for a big bank, but died when my friend was 14. He grew up in a massive mansion, had his rent paid for in a luxury rental building, and had unlimited funds for drugs. Eventually, his mom forced him to go to rehab, which he did for a couple of months. One day, while he was at rehab, my roommate got a call from him. He said he's outside and didn't know where else to go. He had been cut off from his money, knew that we had an extra room, and asked if he could stay with us while he learned basic life skills, getting a job, buying groceries, cleaning, budgeting, etc. We let him, against our better judgment. About a month in, he had managed to stay sober, keep a job, and not be such a parasitic piece of shit. His mom thought he was doing better too, so she reconnected him to his money. His whole attitude and demeanor completely changed. All of a sudden it's I don't have to stay in this shitty apartment, living like I'm poor. I don't even have to stop doing drugs. I've got my money back. He left right before rent was due and basically told us to F ourselves. 2 months later, he had the exact same situation happen. His mom cut him off again, forced him to go to rehab. He left again and called us, but this time we figured he'd rather not live in our shitty apartment living like he's poor. What was his response to being denied the second time around? He spit at my roommate, caused a scene in the street for a while, and then petered out of existence. For me anyway, haven't seen him since. Not scathing like most of the ones on here. I grew up attending a private school in a developing country, so a lot of my classmates were in the 1% of the country. Whenever we'd be swimming in the school pool, one friend of ours in particular would always remark that swimming is more fun if the pool has a current or waves. To which I had no idea what he was talking about and generally thought he was just being imaginative. One day he invited me over to his house for swimming and he had a 50-foot indoor pool that generated a current waves. He wasn't lying. They are a lot more fun. A personal wave pool. That sounds awesome. A consulting manager I worked with was literally stifler. Even looked like him. He was a Harvard grad. Dad was an exec at a huge consulting firm. Smart, but incredibly ditzy and trying really hard to be normal. He walked into work one morning and asked one of his trainees if they got paid this week because he literally couldn't see the difference in his bank account. At least he's trying. My college roommate's mom gave him freaking $1,400 for the weekend just randomly. He blew through the whole thing by Saturday, asked his mom for more money and was screaming at her because she promised $1,400 for the weekend and he spent most of what she gave him on Friday, which isn't a part of the weekend. Knew a trust fund girl whose dad gave her the money to start a company. She lost it when she went on vacation for 6 months and forgot she was supposed to pay her employees all the time. She assumed they would not get paid for 6 months and be there when she got back. I quizzed her on this for a few minutes and it was clear she had no idea what a job was. I hope they sued her for whatever missing pay they were owed before they quit. Look up Corona Del Mar High School cheating scandal. Happened at my school. Parents paid around $50,000 a piece to have a tutor bug the school computers and change students' grades. They all lawyered up big time when it came out and all the kids got off free and all made it into their top 3 schools. Edit. I would also like to add that this made the news, and all the parents whined that their children were innocent and just had a bad tutor. Had a girl I went to school with, total 4 brand new cars. Think Range Rover, Escalade, etc. I was also in a class with this girl when the teacher handed out papers that needed to be signed by a parent, and she signed it herself and tried to turn it in the same period as it was handed out and freaked out when the teacher wouldn't accept it. Kids who would talk poop and pick fights and then turn around and say, "If you touch me, my dad will sue you." There are a lot more. Girl I went to high school with got a Mercedes for her 16th birthday. Bitched and moaned about the fact that she didn't get a Lexus because her name was Lexi and she thought it would be so cool for Lexi to drive a Lexus with a custom license plate saying Lexi. Her parents did cave and buy her a Lexus for her 17th birthday. My college roommate threw a massive tantrum, like on the floor screaming and crying, because her parents got her a used big ass truck for graduation. It was a 2013 truck with less than 10k miles that was fully upgraded, loaded with every possible add-on. We graduated in 2014. The car was maybe a year old. She already had a 2009 Range Rover. Can parents unilaterally change their minor child's name? Cause I would have changed her name to Mercedes. This happened a couple of weeks ago at the Infiniti dealership. I was in the waiting room with a very well dressed lady for our loaner cars. She left the waiting room to look at her loaner and came back crying. She said she drives a fully loaded QX80 and they gave her a QX60 with nothing in it. I said sorry that happened and asked how long she was going to have the loaner for. She said a couple of hours. I wanted to tell her to suck it up, but instead I sat there quiet thinking how life must be easy for her to cry over a loaner car. A Saudi guy in the UK got in a crash with light damage to one side of brand new Mercedes. He called for one of his assistants to come get him, even though the car was fully drivable. My friend rolled up on call with his tow truck and asked the guy where he wanted the Mercedes towed. The guy gave him the keys and said keep it, I don't want it. Damn, I need to befriend some Saudi princes. Hello, I am a prince from Saudi Arabia. I have money that I must give away. Please email me. Please give me back my $50 you asked of in the email response. Please sir, be patient. The bank is wiring you your funds. For $50 additional USD I can expedite this. I used to have a friend who would constantly say I love when my dad gives me money, and if I ask for a certain amount of money my parents always give me $50 extra. This girl then bought an apartment boasting about it on Facebook and how proud she was of herself, how at 23 she was able to afford a home at such a young age all on her own. Still makes me want to face plant into a pile of jagged rocks. A girl in my school was surprised by her parents in the school's parking lot with a new BMW. A freaking BMW. Everyone who is out is basically watching this go down and she starts crying. At first we are all thinking it's because she's so happy, but then she runs back into the school. Apparently they were supposed to show up earlier. I'm assuming when there would be more students to witness the surprise. I felt bad for the dad because he looked totally embarrassed and sad about it. You know, in his head he's like, I created this monster. I would have taken it back and returned it. Made that little ungrateful POS walk to school. Dad bought his college-age daughter a house in a very nice neighborhood so that she and her friends could live rent-free while they attended university. He remodeled the entire house. In all he probably spent close to $2 million. 2 weeks after moving in, they left a candle burning while they went to the store to get snacks for a football game. Came home and the house was on fire. A month later, it was good and new for them to move back in. I mean, the upside is that he probably had insurance on the home, and he'll be able to rent it for a lot of money to groups of students for as long as that college is standing, until the daughter leaves a candle burning in the library. Not exactly rich kid syndrome, but there was this family that had 2 children who attended the elementary school that was connected to my middle school. Every day the 2 parents would leave the house and drive separately to pick up their 2 kids before returning home. I should mention at this point that they each drove a Lamborghini, one black and one orange, back to back in the pickup line to get their kids from elementary school. At first I thought they were just being showy, but then I realized that they were 2-seaters, so this was really the only way to do it. Once had a blockmate craving for Japanese mood. He went to Japan for dinner, used MacBook as an umbrella on a rainy day. Bought another blockmate a watch same as his because blockmate number 2 kept complimenting his watch a lot more. It's crazy for someone who can't even afford a phone. I had a scholarship to private school for my secondary education. 11-18, we were by no means poor, but compared to the people who were paying full school fees I was a peasant. The vast majority of the students were wealthy, and about half of them were spoiled little brats. Most of the kids got given cars for their 17th birthday in anticipation of passing their driving tests. One boy in particular in my year had a September birthday, so was one of the first to take his test, and he had a huge house garden, so he already knew how to drive. You can drive on private land at any age here. On the day he passed his test, he got dropped off back at his school in his shiny new sports car. I don't know what type it was. I don't give a F about cars, but everyone else seemed impressed. He picked up a couple of friends to go for a spin, and before he got 100 meters up the road, he completely wrecked the freaking car. His dad bought him a new one the next day and he complained that it was the wrong color. My brother and I grew up working class, but when my mom remarried we were all of a sudden in the 1%. One day when we were in high school, my brother's girlfriend came over to our place in tears. It turns out the family's Mercedes was in the shop and she had to use the Audi. There was this rich kid in our class who was literally disgusted by us buying used stuff, like computer parts, on eBay. Once during conversation I said I bought on eBay memory module for my PC and said to me that I should have a little dignity, and if I buy used stuff I should keep it to myself. I know a garbage man that works in rich neighborhoods and takes out trash around move out time for the uber rich kid university. Every year, he finds 200-300 game consoles, the newest ones, and sometimes desktop PCs. The kids don't want to take them home, they just throw them all out. He makes a good 40k a year on eBay. He just cleans stuff up and sells it. Nice supplementary income. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more Reddit addiction. Also leave a comment on what is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced.